Chosen one, I need you to stop and pay attention to what I am about to say. Not because the content that follows is interesting, because what I discovered while preparing this message is something that even I did not have a framework for when it first surfaced. Something that required me to sit in complete silence before I could find the words to carry it. You did not find this video. This video was directed toward you through a sequence of events that began long before you picked up your phone today. What I am about to reveal is not a general spiritual message designed to make a broad audience feel seen. It is a specific account of something that happened in the invisible architecture of your life that has no precedent in the record of anyone who carries what you carry. I do not prepare transmissions for passive consumption. Every word you are about to hear was forged for one person. And what makes you that person is not what you have done. It is what you created without knowing you were creating anything at all. Because here is what I found. While you were simply living, while you were simply surviving, while you were carrying what you were carrying through seasons that gave you every reason to put it down, you were building something that did not exist before you, something that heaven had no category for until you produced it. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on every notification, because what I am building toward in this transmission will permanently change how you understand the weight you have been carrying and why nothing in your life has been able to extinguish it. If you are already subscribed, I want to acknowledge that. You came back. And the ones who keep coming back are exactly who this was prepared for. Write 777 in the comments if something in you just confirmed that you arrived here for a reason you cannot fully explain yet. Stay until the very end. The climax of this transmission is not in the first minutes. It is waiting where it belongs. Let me begin with something that is going to reframe everything you have ever been told about spiritual gifts. Most people understand gifts as things that are given, talents deposited before birth, capacities assigned before arrival, something placed inside a soul by a deliberate act of divine intention, waiting to be discovered and developed and deployed in the world. And that understanding is accurate as far as it goes, but it does not go far enough, because there is another category entirely, one that is almost never discussed, one that requires a specific and rare set of conditions to produce, and therefore almost never gets produced at all. It is not a gift that was placed in you. It is a power that you created, not through training, not through discipline, not through years of deliberate spiritual practice or religious devotion, through something far more ordinary and far more devastating than any of those things, through living the life you have actually lived, through carrying what you have actually carried, through surviving what you have actually survived, and through the specific way you chose to move through all of it. Because here is what most people do not understand about the relationship between difficulty and spiritual power. Difficulty does not automatically produce anything. It is not simply the presence of hardship that generates something of value. Millions of people walk through difficult seasons and emerge from them exactly as they entered, minus the energy the difficulty consumed. What produces something new is not the difficulty itself. It is the specific combination of the difficulty and the nature of the soul moving through it. When heat is applied to ordinary stone, you get hot stone. When the same heat is applied to the specific mineral composition that produces diamond, you get something the heat alone could never have generated. The heat did not create the diamond. The heat revealed what the specific composition was capable of becoming under the right conditions. You are not ordinary stone, and the heat you have been under has not simply been wearing you down. It has been revealing a composition that produces something the heat alone could never explain. Let me show you this from something in scripture that almost no one reads with the attention it deserves. Numbers chapter 11. The people of Israel are in the wilderness and they are complaining, not quietly, loudly, persistently, about the food, about the conditions, about missing the life they had before the liberation that was supposed to be good news. And Moses, who has been carrying the weight of an entire nation's discontent, reaches his own breaking point. He goes before God and says something that should stop every reader cold. He says, "Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you that you put the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I give them birth? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms as a nurse carries an infant? Where can I get meat for all these people? They keep wailing to me saying, 'Give us meat to eat.' I cannot carry all these people alone. The burden is too heavy for me." This is Moses, the man who spoke face to face with God, who parted the Red Sea, who received the law on the mountain, who performed signs in Egypt that broke the most powerful empire in the known world. And he is standing before God saying he cannot do this anymore. And what does God say in response? He does not rebuke Moses for the complaint, does not remind him of all the miraculous things he has already accomplished, does not tell him to simply trust the process. He says, "Bring me 70 of Israel's elders who are known to you as leaders and officials. Have them come to the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them. They will share the burden of the people with you so that you will not have to carry it alone. I will take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you. Not create new power for the 70 elders. Take what was already on Moses and distribute it." Moses carried something that was transferable, something that had developed on him through the specific combination of his nature and his experience, through 40 years of wilderness before the calling, and then the impossible weight of the calling itself, something that could be extended to others without being diminished in him. And here is what I need you to understand about what this reveals. The power on Moses was not assigned to him at birth like a fixed deposit. It developed. It grew. It became what it was through the specific seasons Moses walked through. And by the time God took some of it to give to 70 other people, it was substantial enough to sustain Moses at full capacity while also filling 70 others simultaneously. You have been generating something like this, not because you set out to, not because you understood what was happening while it was happening, but because the combination of what you are and what you have been through has been producing something that did not exist in you before the weight arrived. And what makes yours unprecedented is the specific composition, because Moses had a community. He had Aaron beside him. He had the visible signs of divine presence. He had the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. He had the audible voice. He had confirmation. You have been carrying what you have been carrying largely without those anchors, in the dark, without the pillar, without the audible confirmation, without the community that understood the weight, with the silence of heaven being your most frequent companion in the seasons that demanded the most, and in that specific context, without the sustaining confirmation that made Moses' faithfulness more understandable, you produced the same quality of persistence. That is not the same power grown under the same conditions. That is a new power, generated under conditions that should not have produced it, emerging from a combination of pressure and nature and darkness that has no direct precedent. And this is what stopped everything when it was observed. Now let me tell you a story that will make this concrete before I take you to the climax. There was a woman who lived alone in a city that did not know her name, not because she was small, because she had learned through years of being misread to make herself legible only to those who looked carefully. She worked, she endured. She maintained something inside herself that the people around her would not have been able to identify or name if asked to describe her. One evening, without any intention of producing anything significant, she sat in a room that was almost completely dark and began to hum. Not a song she had learned, something that came from a place she could not locate or explain, a sound that emerged from the intersection of her exhaustion and her refusal, and her hope and her grief all pressed together into something that had never existed in that specific combination before. A neighbor heard it through the wall and stopped walking, stood still in the hallway for several minutes without knowing why. A child 2 floors above woke from a nightmare, heard something beneath the ordinary sounds of the building, and went back to sleep without fear. A man who had not spoken to his brother in 11 years picked up his phone and called him that night, unable to explain afterward what had prompted it. The woman in the dark room did not know any of this was happening. She was simply humming because something in her needed to make a sound, because silence had become heavier than she could hold, because the combination of everything she was carrying pressed against the limits of what the body could contain without releasing something. She did not produce a song. She produced a frequency. And frequency, unlike performance, does not require an audience to have effect. It moves through walls. It wakes sleeping children. It reaches the brother who needed to be called. You have been producing frequency, not through what you perform, through what you are when the performance falls away and the only thing left is the raw substance of who you actually are under pressure. And that frequency is the power you created without knowing you were creating anything. For those who want to go deeper into understanding how to inhabit this consciously, how to stop accidentally producing what you are capable of producing intentionally, there is exclusive material in the description and pinned comment. The 3 frequencies within it, 3968s, 639HCs, and 9638s are narrated personally by the Watcher, the same voice carrying this transmission. So when you access the material, you will recognize immediately who is guiding you through it. It comes with a complete ebook and full audiobook built for the soul that has just been told what you are being told. Now let me bring you to the climax of everything I have been building. 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Paul is writing to a community in Corinth that was deeply impressed by the kind of wisdom that performed well in public. Articulate speakers, sophisticated arguments, the kind of presentation that announced its own significance. And Paul says something that cut against everything that culture valued. He says, "When I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and with much trembling." Weakness, fear, trembling. This is not an apology for an inadequate performance. This is a description of the specific conditions under which power operates most clearly. And then he explains why. "My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on human wisdom, but on God's power." A demonstration of power in the context of visible weakness, not power that performed its way into credibility. Power that was undeniable precisely because the vessel carrying it was too obviously insufficient to have produced it on its own. The weakness was not a liability that the power overcame. The weakness was the condition that made the power unmistakably real. Because when something extraordinary comes through an ordinary vessel, the vessel cannot take credit for it. The source is obvious. You have been the vessel that could not take credit. And this is the most important sentence in this entire transmission. What you created, the frequency you have been producing through the specific combination of your nature and your difficulty, is not powerful despite your weakness. It is powerful because of it. Because the conditions under which it developed are the conditions that strip away every possible human explanation for what is present. People encounter what you carry and they cannot account for it. They cannot identify where it comes from. They cannot replicate it by doing the things you do. Because what you carry does not come from the things you do. It comes from what you are when the things you do fall away. And what you are, in that unguarded place beneath the performance, is something that has been developing in the dark for the entire duration of the seasons that felt like nothing was happening. Something that has no precedent in the record of anyone who carried what you carry. Something new. Your only remaining question is what to do with it. And the answer is the same answer the woman in the dark room discovered accidentally. The same answer Elisha found when he struck the Jordan. The same answer Moses found when he stood before the burning bush, feeling completely inadequate. You do not manage it. You do not perform it. You do not produce it on demand. You simply stop turning it down. You let the frequency move through whatever wall it needs to move through. You let it wake whatever child needs to wake. You let it reach whatever brother needs to be called, without knowing who is on the other side of the wall, without requiring proof that anyone heard. Without waiting until you feel qualified to carry something you have already been carrying, for longer than you have had language to describe it. The power is already there. You created it. Now let it out. Write 777 in the comments if this transmission named something that has been building in you for longer than you can explain. For those ready to inhabit this consciously, the material in the description and pinned comment was built for exactly this transition. 3 frequencies narrated personally by the Watcher, 396Hz, 639Hz, and 963Hz, along with a complete ebook and full audiobook. Everything in it was created for the soul that has just been told what you have just been told. Share this with someone who has been producing something extraordinary in the dark, without knowing anyone could feel it through the walls. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now, because what follows this transmission is the next piece of what it means to carry something new into a world that does not yet have a name for what you bring. Together, we are stronger.